Alright, hopefully my setup still works. Yes, awesome. Huzzah. And all that fun stuff. Let me just make sure everything is... My setup still works. That's a yes. Awesome. We're gonna have to figure out why live chat is broken. So I guess one sec. I can't see chat right now. So that's interesting. I don't know what is going on anymore. Oh, that's really annoying. One sec. Okay, I have killed the 3D printer. Is everything still working? This is a long delay. Why is there such a long delay? What? Okay, hold on. There's such a long delay. Okay. Everything's working. I can't see chat though. And I don't know why. Okay, I'm gonna pretend everything's working. And if it isn't, yell at me in the Discord channel, because I think I can still see that. But there's just a white box over my over my chat. So I don't know what that is. But anyway, this is, what is this? This is the DreamHack Jam. So the idea here is it is a game jam over this weekend, so 72 hours. Less than that now, about 36-ish hours left of building a game for the DreamHack, which is going to be in October, I think. Sometime in October. Well, obviously sometime in October. It's the end of September. But anyway, the idea here is we build a game in 3 days. And the theme is apocalypse. So we're going to build a... Well, I guess fighting game is the best way to describe it. Effectively, it's going to be a really simple platformer where everything explodes. The level explodes, you explode, and you try to explode the person you're fighting against. Don't really know how well it's going to work, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun, so we're going to see what happens, I guess. And it'll either work and be awesome, or it will not work and then it will be less awesome. So I guess, yeah, exactly. Let the apocalypse begin. I set it so that this should be a low latency stream, so hopefully we're getting, I don't know, responsiveness. Okay, so my chat is working. There's just a giant white box and it's grayed out. That's really weird, but whatever. Anyway, I think this is probably going to be boxes, which I'm not entirely sure what I think about that. But I think we can make the entire game out of... where? Oh, there's a whole bunch of things in here now. But I think we can make it out of... Do I not have a box? Okay, there might not be a box. I may have lied. Okay, I lied. There's no box. We're going to need Photoshop. Quick but but I need a really simple box. And so everything in this game is going to be boxes. At least that's sort of what I'm thinking. And as you explode, the entire level is going to explode with you. So everything is destructible. So you're going to kind of blow up the level. There's going to be slow motion and everything. Not Minecraft. It's going to be 2D. So a 2D platformer. I've kind of wanted to play with this idea for a while, and I was originally thinking 3D, and then I went to like VR, and then I was like, we're not going to build a VR game in 2 days. So that kind of went out the window, but we can just, there we go, box, done, save. Let's see. Throw this in not there. I guess we can just store everything in like a sprites folder, because it's all going to be the same thing. But yeah, this, I'm trying to keep like the art style super simple, and we might pull in some stuff from other stuff. Minecraft, I like it. Let's see here. Box. Yes. Sure. So, oh, ha. Wait, what? Oh, duh. I'm totally lost. Okay. Ignore that moment of confusion. That was totally intended and definitely not just me completely losing my mind. So, we have a box. It is a box. Let's make it 64 by 64. So this way, our sprite is going to be exactly 1 unit wide, which we can tweak later, I guess. But look, we have a thing. Isn't this cool? You guys have never done this before. Let's see. Yeah, let's just make a quick block. I guess level blocks. That's a mistake. So the trick here is these all have to be kind of separate, because each of these blocks is actually going to be able to be blown apart from everything else. And so they all have to be their own separate entity. We might come up with a better way to make this, but for now this works. And then I need a player. Cool. And they can just be red for now. Let's stick a box on there. Cool. Box. You don't need anything else. Another box and a 2D rigid body. You're making fractures. Maybe? I don't entirely know the reference there. Pixels. Then you're not wrong. It is pixels, but there's going to be precise movement. And by precise, I mean movement controlled entirely by explosions. So the art style I'm kind of thinking is everything in the level is going to be squares, and then the explosions are just going to be a circle that quickly expands out and does like that cartoony flash thing. I think that'll work. Yeah, so in 3D you can do like really cool fractures using like I think it's called Verneuil noise, which is a way to 3D fracture. It's a noise pattern that gets you really cool fractures. I've used that before. I used that in, what was the game called? Eclipse? We did that like a year ago, and that worked pretty well. But this is going to probably just stay cubes because I don't really have the time to go and do anything crazy. But right now we need a character controller because we have nothing. So let's do a player. And so this is going to actually be a 2-player game. There's going to be probably a red and a blue player, just because that's easy. And then you'll probably need like 2 controllers or a controller and a keyboard or whatever. I'm kind of designing it just for 2 controllers because that's just easiest. But I only have 1 controller to test, so we'll see how that works. Let's see here, player, controller. Sure, that sounds like a fine name. Player. Why can't I add the player? That's weird. I also finally updated to Visual Studio 2017, which I should have done a long time ago. I've been using that for like other .NET stuff, but for Unity it's always been 2015. So we'll see how this works, because this will be the first time I've actually done that. So this might go horribly wrong and just explode in my face. But it seems fine, so yay. Let's see. Probably don't need a test explorer for this project. Let's grab a 2D rigid body. Yeah, I agree. Player controller is probably the worst name I could have given this. But I think the only thing that it does, well, okay, it does a few things, but I know character controller is reserved, but I don't think player controller is, unless I'm mistaken, which we'll find out soon enough. We can actually, let's see here. Rigid body player controller. That'll be a better name anyway. Reload solution. Don't make me have to do this every single time you... That's a good start. Let's see here. Rigid body player controller. Match those up. Everything's good. The other thing we're going to need is a player ID. So I'm going to be using Rewired for the inputs because that just makes handling multiple controllers way easier. So let's do Rewired. You know, this actually probably would be easier in like mono game than Unity actually. But oh well. We're kind of already started and I already set up the project and everything else. So, oops. That's not what I want. Let's see here. I have forgotten how to use Rewired. It's been a long time. Input manager. There we go. Awesome. Oh geez. Unity tool for VS. Okay, I'll catch up on chat in just a second. We're gonna set up Rewired. So we need actions, not actions, which means yeah. So let's do, for the default actions, let's set up a horizontal, which is going to be your horizontal movement. Horizontal movement. And then I guess vertical? Sure. Vertical movement. Cool. These are going to want to be axes, because that's a word that I used wrong. Positive, we'll say right, left. Let's do that correctly. Right and left. They do actually ship Visual Studio with Unity now. If you install Unity from scratch, one of the options is to install Visual Studio Community. I think, yeah, that should be an option. So up and down for the vertical. And then, let's see. We need 2 actions, I think, which is going to be drop bomb and what's the other one? Explode bomb. Those make sense, right? So, effectively how this is going to work is you have like really basic movements. So if you want like precise slow movement, you can use the horizontal and vertical axes to kind of like walk around or jump and do like basic things like that. Or you can drop a bomb and then do like combos to like drop a bomb, jump, and then explode it to get a super jump. Or things like that to just kind of accelerate your movement and do dashes or whatever. And then those bombs will accumulate over time, or you'll have to pick them up. Or I haven't figured that part out yet, so we'll figure that out. The movement part is what I want to get right because I think that's going to be a lot of fun. They may have changed it in Unity 2017, but I know with like Unity 5.6 changed the space we're working in.
What
so all
are
those
you
points
doing?
that we would specify.
Stop.
Okay. Sorry about that. That was interesting. All right. Cool. Let's see. Explode bomb, drop bomb, vertical, horizontal. That should be everything we need. So, let's do a joystick layout. Joystick map. Shoot. I have a Xbox One controller, but I don't think the Xbox One controller actually works the way you expect it to. I think it's detected as an analog joystick. So we'll set that up as one. And we'll see. Whoa, geez. That may be too many things. Yeah, do I want these? I don't think I want those. Let's try that again. X full horizontal. Yeah, this should work. And then for Y, full vertical. And that should get us enough for actual movement. And then we can do everything else afterwards. Yeah, that should be fine. All right. Settings, everything's good. Cool. Awesome. Player. Player ID. Whoa. Calm down. There we go. So, we need a player. What's it called? There we go. A rewired player. So I can actually drop that. And we'll store the player like so. I don't know. I want people to be able to kind of like jump in, sort of. Maybe not here, but at like start screens. We'll figure that out later. But we need to initialize our player, so it's been a while since I've done rewired things. Rewired. Re-input. That's it. Got it. Player. There we go. Get player. This should work. By player ID. Cool. So we have our player now. And we have a rigid body. So we should be able to actually apply force now, right? So let's see if well, let's actually just get our input out. So we should be able to do like a public float x and float y. And then this way we should be able to actually see what we're getting out. Horizontal? Sure. Come on, there we go. And then grab the vertical. And hopefully that is everything we need to actually get it. It won't move our player yet, but we should be able to actually see it move, assuming I set up the controller correctly. This should get us to the point where I can actually move the player around. Or we'll throw a null reference exception. Player ID 0 does not exist. Oops. We need to actually add the joystick map. Got it. Cool. Oops. Let's not save yet. Let's do that. Run this. We should have a player now. Or not. What are you doing? Oh, got it. We need to actually add. I did this wrong. Sorry. Yeah, player 0 should work. We don't want to do the system. Let's do player 0. Player. Set this to 1. And I guess we can save this. Sure. And that should be good. Nope. Why are we still getting a null pointer exception? This is weird. It's like we're not pulling, like our player isn't existing. So if I start this, I should get something. Unless that player ID is wrong. Ooh, that might be it. So it's probably trying for the other player. Got it. No, it's using a player ID. What have I done? That shouldn't be happening. Because the player with that ID does exist. That's why I'm getting confused here. Huh. So the thing is both 1 and 0 are not working because we were getting the error with 0 as well. Like, I thought it should be 0 as well, but then when I start it, okay, well, okay, I guess yep, like, what? That's the second time this week where I have thought I've done something and been like, this should have worked. It doesn't work, and then I get really confused because it didn't work, and now it's working. But 0 should be the system. Okay, that's weird. I guess I I missed something there. Whoops. Let's see here. Now that we have that, let's move things around a bit. So we're gonna do A. Yeah, it does apparently skip the system. That's interesting. But anyway, let's grab the input controller here. We're gonna move all of that code over to the input. It's gonna keep asking me to reload that thing, and that's really annoying. But this, hopefully, is going to actually give us a way to store that input, and then we can actually do something with it later. This Boolean, what is it going to be? I guess drop bomb and explode bomb. Cool. So this hopefully gets us our entire input into this system, and then we can actually work with that, hopefully. Yeah. Which means drop bomb has to be equal to nice. We lost IntelliSense too. This is going well. Let's see, explode. Grab the player. Let's see how well I actually remember the syntax for this. Hopefully that's correct. Nope. Oh, ha. We did not import. Wow, it's really not happy with me. It doesn't even know that rewired exists anymore. Nice. Okay. I think we're to a good spot. So I should be able to drop all of this and just have a public player input controller. Call it the input or something. Oops. And then that way we can actually grab that input and use that instead of having it all in a single file. I think that's makes more sense. And then magically all of those errors should disappear. Yes, awesome. Cool. So let's actually add that input controller here and connect everything together. Save, and we should be able to get things out. Why not just derive from it? I prefer encapsulation because eventually there's going to be more things that we're going to actually be connecting onto this controller than just the input. So that's sort of just my stance on that. Is I prefer to encapsulate a bunch of stuff instead of extending it, because that gets a little bit. It can get a little bit weird after a while. Let's see. Huh. Now we get a guess. What is the A button on a controller? Bottom row 1? Sure. And then, should A be drop bomb or explode bomb? I guess drop, which means B should be explode? Maybe? I honestly have no idea what they are. So we'll have to figure that out by playing, which I guess that works. Oops. Yeah, that is totally in the way. Well, I have hit every button on the controller, and none of them were the ones that we thought they were, or that I thought they were. There's a map somewhere for ReSharper that actually shows you what each of these would be on each controller, but I don't have that. So now we get to guess. Now these aren't going to be the correct values, but that's not really the point. It's mostly just to see what actually shows up. If anything shows up. I imagine that doesn't sound very good when I start hitting those buttons to actually see if that's working or not. So apologies if that doesn't sound great. What can we do here? Unless I'm not setting that correctly. Let's try this. Get button. That may be part of our problem, is I'm using the wrong stuff. Okay. Recompile. There we go. Awesome. Let's start this and see what happens. So drop bomb is getting turned on with the X button, and the option thing, so that center button, is turning on explode bomb. So I think we were right the first time. I just had everything using, oops, that's not right. Horizontal, there we go. So this bottom row, awesome. Let's see if this works. Oh, one of these days my voice is actually gonna like get back to normal, but it's been taking longer than I wanted. So we have everything the way I wanted it. So drop bomb is now A and explode is B. So the general idea there is you can kind of combo that. And so you can kind of drop, move, and explode. And so only the explosions from your enemy are going to actually affect you. So your explosions will propel you, but they won't do you any damage. Or it's probably going to be like one-shot kills. So those aren't going to actually hurt you. They're just going to move you out of the way. Whereas if they explode from somebody else, that's actually going to hurt you. So that's how that's going to work. Now we need actual movement. I can close this. That doesn't need to be open right now. Let's see. Drop, explode. Why can't our input controller be found? Okay. I'm gonna pretend like that's totally normal and actually working, because I don't know why it's thinking it doesn't exist. Maybe that was the re-import solution, but I don't really want to re-import my solution every single time I create a file, because that's just a pain. What's the best way to do this? So we can do... If we're grounded, we can move or we can jump, but we can't jump if we're not. So let's actually add a grounded check to this so we can actually see if we're on the ground or not. Which makes me want to actually swap out this box. Come on. There we go. Swap out this box with a circle. And so the reason I do that is because it makes it easier to actually, when there's like hills or something, a circle with a rigid body is actually going to be able to climb those, whereas a square doesn't. And it just becomes a giant mess. And we'll freeze the rotation. It should stop it from doing anything crazy. And then I realized I really probably didn't want to make this a rigid body, but oh well. Let's see. Gravity, already handled. And now, the simplest movement we can get. Let's do add force. Is that really what I want? Not really. But it'll work. Rigid body, add force, equal to our inputs, x, times our vector 3 dot, or vector 2 dot right, because right is our positive angle. And then that should add force. This won't be very much because there's no scalar, so it's going to be very slight movement, but it should actually get us moving. Or not. Not is a possibility as well. At least gravity works. But why don't we go to the right? Ah, we just needed to change the mass. So, the problem with using a rigid body is it makes the movements really floaty, because you can see it kind of slides along there. You can't tell when I'm releasing, but you can see like the X will go down long before we stop moving. And if you're in the air, there's even less friction, so it's even more of a problem. So, yeah, force is just gross, but it'll work. So, I guess we have that force. Let's do, yeah, float horizontal speed. I guess we're gonna add the stats here for now. Jump strength. Yeah, so we can change the friction on materials and stuff, but even in air, you're literally just going to like be able to just add additional speed and just get to some max value. And just stopping and things like that is just really hard. It just doesn't feel right, and it's really hard to control. But I don't really know the best way to fix that, so we're gonna ignore it until I get to that. Let's see, horizontal speed, and let's actually add our time delta in, because otherwise this really isn't gonna work very well. So now we actually need to multiply by some big amount, and we'll see what we get. Very fast, like really fast, probably too fast. So I guess the next step is kind of tweaking this, and then we'll figure out how to actually detect if we're grounded or not. And then once we get that, we can modify this some more. And we're also going to want some sort of maximum horizontal and do we need vertical? And do we want maximums at all, actually? I'm not sure we do. I'm thinking we may be able to do this better and kind of get rid of that floatiness so it feels more responsive. And we can do that by doing like a rigid body dot move. So if there's a private vector 2, yeah, of its velocity, what we can do is actually do its velocity times the time delta. I haven't actually played a lot with the force modes, but I think I like this approach better because then everything is specific. You don't get the cool like random physics stuff happening, but it's super controllable because all we have to do is change this velocity and there's no outside forces that'll act on it, which means really this just has to go velocity.x plus equals r or input.x times the horizontal speed, right? And we can even do something like this where it's actually immediate. So we're not even using forces anymore. We're literally just changing the velocity. I think that makes more sense. Granted, there's still... Oh. What? What have I done? This is new. Bye. What? What is this? I don't even... What? Oh, you know, it probably isn't a good idea for this to be so high anymore. Okay. This is working well. Hmm. I hmm. Oh. You know what we should do? We should set this to that first. I don't think that's actually going to change anything. It shouldn't change anything, but... Oh, that's what's going on. Got it. I'm doing it wrong. We can't do this. What am I doing? There we go. Position plus. We actually, it moves it to a position in space. It doesn't move it to a relative position. That would be a good thing for me to actually keep in mind. Of course that works. Why wouldn't that work? We can just cast a vector 3 to a vector 2. I'm sure that can't go wrong, right? I'm kind of curious why it was... Oh, I know. Okay. That makes sense. Why it was going all crazy on us, but I think I've got it. So this is way too controlled. Let's crank that up a bit. And now it's very precise. We stop immediately. And then, of course, there's gravity, but there should be an XY on the vector 3. I don't think there is. I don't think they support swizzle operators, but yeah. No, there's a shoot. What's his name? We were talking on Twitter, but he made swizzle operators for every vector class, so you can literally just get any vector out of any other vector, or if you want to like rotate vectors or do whatever, that's a thing. I'll find the link and post it somewhere, but that was cool. Played around with it a little bit, but so we have position stuff. Yay. We also, I'm gonna want to turn off gravity because that's a thing that makes sense. So gravity is gone now. And let's actually move this into the fixed update because we're doing physics stuff, even though it's not really physics stuff, but it's physics stuff. So we're going to want to change our input stuff to happen in the fixed update. There we go. Come on. Okay, there it is. Cool. And we can... Okay, that's just gonna be there. All right. So we have that, so it'll be updated for the fixed update, which means our input controller needs to have a fixed update. That should get called. Yeah, this will work. I'm pretty sure. Lots of confidence going on here. So, I have made it so you can no longer fall at all. We'll add that back, but that's this way physics is handled by us. The only thing the rigid body is really getting us is dynamic collisions, so we can actually detect when things hit us or whatever, but it isn't actually doing anything else. So that hopefully makes everything better. And then, let's see here. We want this horizontal speed. This means we can go 10 units per second in any direction, I think. Yeah. And so, now that we have this, we need to be able to jump and fall, which we can do with our gravity. What's the best way to do that? First off, let's 9.8. I almost just tried to add units onto that. That doesn't actually make any sense, but I don't know what I'm doing. All right, let's see if that should get us to fall down at a constant. Oh, that was all right. Okay. Yep, that's gonna do a thing. 9.8 is the acceleration, not the force down, but that's fine. So, what we need to do is, if we are grounded, we need to set the y velocity to 0. If we are not grounded, then the y velocity needs to accelerate at negative 9.8 meters per second. Right? Do I want to be writing this from do I want to be writing physics from scratch? Not really. But if we don't do it, then we're back to the force thing. So I guess, what do you guys think? Physics-based movement or this? Like hacky custom thing? This will get us more precision, but it will be less. It'll require us to actually like write physics. Whereas if we do like a rigid body thing, it's already there. What do you prefer? I have no idea. Character controller with physics. Hacky custom thing. Hacks. I have all the hacks. It is called DreamHack, but it's not my dream to be a hacker. Okay, we can continue with this. Sure, let's do it. So, how are we going to see if we're grounded? I've done this in a whole bunch of ways. We can do like on collision enter and on collision exit, but that's really hacky. The other thing might be grounded. Let's create a variable for that so we know if we're on the ground or not. That way we'll know if we can jump. Let's see. What's the best way to do this? Raycasts. We're going to do a raycast because of course we're going to do a raycast. What am I doing? That's the wrong. There we go. Yeah, this should be fine. So, for this we need a ray. I'm totally guessing here, so I have no idea if this is gonna be correct or not. It's not throwing us in or an error, so yay. And then let's return physics raycast. We're gonna want a specific layer for the ground, so you can jump off of, well, the thing is I want to I kind of think it'd be cool to be able to like jump on top of the other player, which you wouldn't be able to do if we used the layered approach, because then the two players will be on the same layers. So, what's the best way to do a raycast without hitting ourselves? Without just turning off our hitbox, that's silly. That might be the best way. Well, first off, let's do a physics 2D raycast of our ray. Oh yeah, raycast all. That's a good idea. So if we do a raycast all, and then give it the ray and the distance, which will be half of our height. We'll just do the 0.05 something and say, what? I don't even know if this is correct. So I was going to do a link check to see if we hit ourselves. So it takes an origin, a direction, and a distance. We can do that. It means we don't even need this. So, ta-da! And then let's include collections.system.link. There we go. So link probably isn't the best choice for this, but it's going to be easy because we can just do any. And so what any is going to do is it's going to return true if there's anything that matches its condition. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a rigid body where that rigid body, let's actually just call it a body. So where that body is not equal to ourselves. So this will return true if our raycast hits anything that is not ourselves. And we'll do that for just greater than our... That's kind of hacky, but that's fine. So we'll do a raycast for just greater than our own height. And I think that should work. We'll find out. So once this compiles, we should see a grounded flag pop up in our controller, which should be set. And it's not. So that's obviously working really well. Body.transform. What are you're talking about comparing the transforms? Body. I suppose. So you want to compare them like that. But how is that going to be any different? Well, first let's see what happens. I'm curious why we didn't get a hit with the first one. Well, we're grounded now, so that clearly worked very well. And then we aren't as soon as we get over that, which there's a slight problem there of we're obviously not going down, but we're not grounded anymore, which we should fix. Actually, no, because we have a circle. I think we don't want a raycast. .circlecast. That should work, right? So if I do a circle for it with our position, our radius, and then go down like 0.01, it's going to go down just a tiny bit. But that should hit things if we're going to collide with them. And then theoretically, everything is good. And that way, we should continue to be grounded until, well, if there would be something underneath our circle. Or we'll get knocked up because of physics, and then we'll no longer be on the ground. Which actually, that might be what we want. So, there's our grounding. Let's do a test. So if we're not grounded, we want to do velocity.y plus equals negative 9.8 meters per second times the time delta. So that's gravity. And then, actually we can do that. There's a physics gravity. Yeah, so if actually we can do this. So if we're not grounded, we can actually take the gravity here and we can actually plug this in here, I want to say. And we'll take the magnitude of this. I'm making this way more complicated than it needs to be. But I think that makes more sense. So that way, if in the same frame we would hit the ground, then we're grounded. Right? I think that makes sense. That may keep us one frame off of the ground at all times, so we may need to tweak that a little bit. But we'll see. Let's see, we're on the ground. And I can't move anymore. Nice. Oops. Hey, look, we can hit things. Do you have any experience with changing a model at runtime? No, I don't have much experience with doing like dynamic models or anything like that. We did do like a dynamic mesh for like the snow deformation thing, so you could like walk on snow. But that's really as far as I've gone. It really is going to depend on what you're actually trying to do. If you're trying to do like deformation stuff, or if you're trying to do like skinned bones and write your own custom bone stuff, that's different. But yeah. Hmm. I think we might be going a little bit too fast with this. Oh, well, first, if not grounded, then we apply gravity. Otherwise, if we're already grounded, we don't want to apply gravity because that's just going to cause unnecessary problems. So what we can do is actually set the velocity dot y equal to 0. So we won't have any downward momentum. We'll lose our velocity once we hit the ground. I think that makes the most sense. And that way, we don't get the problem that I was having where we just maintain our downward velocity and it just doesn't show up until we leave. Cool. So now we should be accelerating down. If I put that above, we get that one frame above thing, so we're just slightly above. We can fix that later. That's not super annoying to me. It's kind of annoying, but it's not super annoying. No. All right. Now, I think the next thing is going to be jumping. So actually, let's swap these. So if we're not grounded, velocity.y equals 0. Let's actually take our input. That's not right. So if our input.y is greater than 0.5 f, then I want to actually jump. Ooh. There we go. Cool. So with the jump, how is this going to work? I don't entirely know. Velocity.y, we'll set that equal to... I'm going to change this quick. We want this to be the max. So the reason I'm changing the this is so that if we have upward momentum and we like fly past a platform, it doesn't just stop us. It'll only stop us from falling down. It won't stop us from going up. It's velocity.y. And then here we'll do jump strength as our upward force, which means if I set this to like 5, we should actually be able to calculate how high we'll actually get because it's just basic physics stuff, but that's too much work, so we're not gonna do that. Let's see here. We're doing that never moving thing again. Ooh. Yes, that is what I wanted you to do. Why did you do that? I broke it. How did I break it? If we're grounded, then we do that. If we're not grounded, then we do... Okay, got it. I flipped the things, but I didn't flip the conditional. Let's see here. Okay, we can move, and I can jump. Woo! We keep going up, so that's probably not a great thing. That's more annoying than I was expecting, but we can at least jump. It's not much. So, yay, I guess. Is that enough jump? That's like, not much, but it's fine. Okay. All of that is working. Now, I think... Actually... we should be able to change this to the velocity, right? So our velocity will be that. And then... Yeah, that should work, I think. I'm actually gonna move the grounded check to the bottom. And then let's see if that fixes things. If this works, I'll say why it works, and if not, I will say why it doesn't. Cool. So now we actually end up on the ground. And so what's happening here is the move is going to move something until it hits an object, and then it's going to prevent it from actually intersecting. And so by moving the grounded check to the bottom, we're waiting until we're actually on the ground to actually revert and say we're on the ground. So by that time, this will have already hit the ground. And that should be good. Cool. So we actually can like land on things now. Now, I think it's time for like explodey things. And also, the change I made, well, will it work? Might not. we might be able to fly through platforms. Let me check that quick. I'm curious what's going to happen here. Theoretically, we just move up and hit it. Part of the problem is we actually maintain our velocity, which we don't want. So this, if I set that back to 0, does that fix it? No, it does not. So what that made it possible to do is hit the ground and then jump immediately afterwards, and we don't want that. So let's see. We can jump. We can test if we hit the ground. But gonna drop that magnitude. I don't care. Well, do I care? I might care a little bit. No. Grounded should just be down. As otherwise we'll get like wall jumps and things, and I don't really want that yet. So I think we have like the basics of movement. We'll need to refine this a ton because it's not done yet. But I can at least jump. And now I can't jump. What? because I got it. Because we're on the ground, so we actually need. We won't detect as being grounded because there's no y velocity. We set that to 0 when we hit the ground. So this sphere or the circle cast isn't actually hitting anything. So let's. That's a terrible idea, but let's try that. So the thing is I do want to add like wall jumps and things. Like you should be able to jump off of these platforms and things. We're just not really there yet. And we're not grounded anymore. Great. We're going to add physics gravity.y. That ought to be good. Cool. Yeah, so I think we need just one to check if we flew into something, and then one to check if we would get propelled into the ground. Why didn't that work? Oh, ha. Physics gravity 2D. Gravity.y times the fixed time delta. Okay. Be grounded. And it didn't work. What? Okay. Well, this is weird. Why doesn't that work? So if gravity would push us into the ground, then do that, but why? Huh. I think I've done something very silly. Because we should be hitting the ground here. Unless I'm very mistaken. And clearly that's the case. Except, like, we're falling. And then I can move again. And now I'm grounded again. What is going on? What? What have I done? Alright. We're going back to what was working because I don't want to spend the time to fix that right now. We can move on. See, I could write all those debugging things, or I could just get amused at all of the weird behavior that's happening, because obviously that's way cooler. That's actually a good idea, but... Okay, so this works-ish. Yeah. The only problem is we're hitting the ceiling and it's stopping us. But other than that, we're able to jump and not jump and do all of that fun stuff. So, was this live or is it live? This is definitely a thing that is maybe live. I hope it's live. All right. Getting distracted. Let's make things explode because that's fun. Yeah, how do we want to do that? Explosion. Because I definitely am going to need an entire folder for this. Back to the Future. How many of those do we need? Like 3? Are there hoverboards? I want hoverboards. Let's see. Explosion controller. And so, you had mentioned going back to a character controller. The default character controller is for 3D stuff, I think. I don't think that there's one that exists for 2D stuff. Unless I've just missed it. But I'm not... Maybe one exists? Oh, hold on. There's an easy way to check that, isn't there? Yeah, I don't see a character controller. So I think we're kind of stuck here with doing 2D things. So that's sort of why we did that in the first place, because there wasn't much choice. And that's actually how Unity's thing detects collisions, if I'm correct. I think it just uses raycasts or sphere casts. I know you don't know which one it uses, but it's effectively just a capsule collider with some extra code on it. So explosion controller. How's this gonna work? We're gonna have an animation curve. Because of course we're gonna have an animation curve. Curve. There we go. Public animation curve. Yep, that seems like a good idea. If I do that, then we have to do calculus. That may be a giant mistake. It'll be fine. So, we have an animation curve, and then float time, and then a max size. So the animation curve is actually going to be size over time. And then there's a max time and a max size. And so over that time, it will do the curve, and then that will be that. Yeah, which means we need a private float of the timer. Timer equals 0. And then we can increment that time, delta time. And then if the timer is greater than our time, then we can destroy this. Otherwise, I think we can just do this transform.scale and set it to a vector3.1 times the max size times the size over time, and we'll evaluate that based off of the timer. Right? That should be enough to get us a thing that goes boom. It won't actually affect the player at all, but that's fine for now. At least it'll get us something that grows. And then if we find the tangent of the size over time, how fast it's growing per frame, we should be able to actually figure out how fast to accelerate our player, or we could just have it be a constant. I suppose that's a choice. But that's boring. Let's see here. That's a thing. That's a button. These must be from ReSharper, or not ReSharper, from Rewire, which is giving us all of these for the different controllers. But this will work. It's a circle. Let's see. That's probably better. That'll be easier to tell what's going on. And then let's add our explosion controller. Size over time. That looks good. Time 1, max size 5. Let's see what happens. I don't know. I didn't really spend much time on this, so I guess it works. It's gonna get huge because it just will, but that should be fine. Boom. We'll call this the explosion, and then we will save it as explosion. Sure. We'll create an entire folder to store this one asset. That's a really good idea. That should definitely be what happens. All right. And then, because we want to break things, let's see. This is a really bad idea. Private bool dropped bomb equals false. I'll get to what that's for, but if we do if we haven't dropped a bomb and our input.dropBomb then drop bomb equals true. And we'll instantiate a bomb. Right? Yeah, that should work. Instantiate a... not that. Instantiate a... Come on. At our current position. And we'll even give it our own rotation, because obviously that's what we want. And then... let's get a reference to that. This probably isn't the best way to do this, but it'll be fast, and that's sort of what I want right now. And then if we haven't met that condition, then dropped bomb equals false. And so the reason I did this thing with the dropped bomb is to sort of prevent us from just spamming it every frame, which is what would happen because that's just how that works. We can probably make that better, and we probably should. And we can do that by just having them be like button presses, detect the press, and not the if it's down or not. Huh. Obviously, my code to prevent the duplicates worked really well. So this is the thing that we have now. That's not really what I wanted. But cool, I guess. Yeah, that's the thing. Oops. Now what? Why did that just happen? We were supposed to have a delay for dropping bombs. That clearly worked very well. If not input.drop bomb. Yeah, that should work. That should be a thing that does things. Maybe that... the Hypno Cube. All hail the Hypno Cube. There, that's better. And so theoretically, those won't actually explode immediately. You'd drop them and then you could explode them at any time. So you could either drop them and wait for somebody to come near and then explode them, or you could just wait or like detonate them almost immediately but have some movement in between so it kind of propels you away. How are we going to do this though? Because that isn't exactly what I want. It's a little bit big. And it also explodes immediately. So let's change this. So the time is 0.25. Which means you need to go like that. Oops. Shoot. Wait, no. Wait. What? That did save. Interesting. Did they change that? Or did I not notice that they had changed that? Pinging stuff. There. That's much better. At least it's closer to the right size. So you need to be kind of close. So I agree. We should definitely store these, and I think we can actually probably swap out this dropped bomb for that. Let's do get button down. I want to see if this still works, if this still does all the stuff that I expected to. If I can still drop bombs with this happening, then we're in a, yeah, awesome. And so since that works, it means that I don't need this thing anymore. And so we can have a public int bomb stored bombs. Set that equal to like 3. And then we'll create a list. Sure. Linked list? Linked list? Sure. Of stored bombs, and they'll just store the game objects. Actually, we can do better. They can store the explosion controllers for those bomb objects. And then bombs. Cool. Let's actually initialize that list. Ta-da! And we'll make that generic because why not? Why don't you like me anymore? Is that like a collection? Yeah. Okay. iList is different. iList is the Java thing. And I think there's an old C# thing that's iList, but I don't think that's used anymore. So let's avoid using that. And so, what's the best way to do this? We don't need that drop bomb. It doesn't exist anymore. But if our bomb count is greater than 0, and we're attempting to drop something, stored bombs, sure, is greater than 0, and we're trying to drop one, we drop it. Bar dropped bomb. And then we can get the explosion controller off of that and store it in our bombs. So bombs dot add the dropped bomb dot get component, and we'll get the explosion off that. And then once we have that, we should be able to drop the bomb. It'll get stored. And then if our input that explode bombs, well, actually that's not gonna do anything right now, but if we want to explode them, then boom. That's not how you spell boom. Boom. Cool. Final thing, stored bombs. We'll subtract the bomb that we dropped from the stored bombs so they can actually get decremented. And then maybe you'll have to like pick them up. So maybe they'll fall from above or something. Because sort of the idea is the platforms will be dynamic and will probably come up from the bottom. So you'll be, over time, these platforms will be blown away. You'll destroy them. They'll go flying off into some space somewhere. And then we'll need new ones to come up and kind of replace those ones. We'll also be dropping bombs that you can pick up and then use to move around. So there's sort of an economy and positioning of being above the map so you don't fall off the bottom and die, and also getting close to the bombs, but also trying to prevent the other person from doing the same thing. I think that makes sense. We'll see if that actually works out. But we should be able to drop 3, and then it should stop letting us drop them. 1, 2, 3. Cool. We'll need a UI eventually to kind of track that. And maybe we'll, over time, just so if you get into like a really bad spot, you don't just lose the game immediately. Maybe there's like a gift or something after like 5-10 seconds that gives you one back. but I don't really know. I also kind of want you to be able to jump higher. Whoa. 7? It's kind of a high jump. And it kind of leaves you super exposed. 6. Let's do 7 and then zoom the camera out a bit. So the reason we have that separate bomb count is that's the number that you have stored, not the number that are out. That list stores the number that are actually out in the game. So they're tracking two different things. One's a stat of how many you can actually drop, and the other is how many you have dropped. Let's go back to 7, and then we'll raise this up to 3. I think that makes sense. And then let's give some extra space so it actually looks or plays somewhat like the actual level will. All right. Sure. Looks kind of like a really sad face, but that's fine. Whoa. So we can jump and fly and make things go boom. Kind of want to have the explosions have the same color as the player, so you can tell them apart. And also, I think we can just have a private bool exploding and initialize that to false initially. We can actually take out the start. We don't need that. And just initialize things in the constructor. That's going to be simpler. And then, if we're not exploding, let's just return. So we don't do anything if we're not exploding. And if we are, then we do all the exploding bits. And then let's make a public void explode. And so this gets called and sets the exploding equal to true. So it causes everything to explode. And then we should be able to go through our list and do bombs dot or each. And let's explode things. Bomb dot explode. Cool. I mean, yeah, I have mixed feelings about coroutines. I'm not I think this makes sense to me to just kind of have it explode because this is something you're going to trigger, which feels more difficult to do with a code. I don't know. I haven't used them that much, so let's. Do we want to clear the bombs now? Sure. So after you explode the bombs, we'll clear them from our list so they're no longer stored. And that way, they should just explode. So theoretically now there's like a combo where you can run around and drop them and then explode. So the thing is I don't want them to be timed. I don't want there to be a timer for exploding. There's a timer for how long it takes to explode, but there's updates that have to happen to update the scale for the effect. The actual explosion is triggered by the player, so you can actually leave them as like mines and kind of claim a certain part of the map for at least a limited amount of time. Just with that, and I think that makes sense. Actually, instead of having them all explode, let's say bombs.first. So I'm thinking, instead of doing this, let's do a queue. Which means this way you can drop them in order and you can kind of explode them one after the other. But you can keep some of them around if you want to. Does that that might make it a little bit nicer. So we'll do NQ there and DQ here. So we'll DQ that. If we actually have an element. And is empty. That isn't a thing that exists. Okay, weird. I guess we're stuck looking at the count. Greater than 0. Cool. So if that works, then we can DQ, take our bomb. Yeah, so we haven't gotten to it yet, or we haven't gotten to it yet. Should probably enunciate. But there will be some symbol for what's going to happen next. Like right now, it just creates a giant circle. So we'll DQ, it's a queue, so DQ is going to pull off the next element in the queue. First in, first out, and all that. So I should be able to blow up one after the other like that. So that works. Now we actually need to make this better. Yeah, first in, first out, right? Yeah, stacks are first in, last out. Let's see here. We need to make this better. So let's add a explosion. And we can move that up. And then explosion effect. And we'll move our sprite to the explosion effect, if I can. Apparently not. So, sprite render, I guess. Right, there's that. Make it red again. And we can actually just remove that. So it looks the same, but now it's got a fun layering effect. So this is going to be our bomb. And how do we want that to look? That looks evil. All right, solid circle. I think that makes sense. So there's a bomb indicator, I guess. Makes sense. Sure. And we're actually going to have that indicator spin. And so, what's the best way to do that? I'm trying to figure out how we can symbolize something. About to explode. One, 2, 5. Sure. And -5. And we will invert that. And then we need another one. This is super hacky, but it's gonna at least get us to the point of having this work. So then this outline is going to be selected. And so this way, hopefully, it will look, let's see here. So when you drop it, it will look like this. It'll just be a red dot. And then when it's the next one to explode, it will have a circle around it. And then when it explodes, it goes boom. I think that makes sense. Now the question is, do we do that with an animator? We could do that with an animator. Or do we do that with something else? I think an animation controller is a good idea. Bomb animator. Sure. Okay. My little camera holder is actually where I keep my animator. So let's move this, attach that. And then there's going to be 3 states. So this will be bomb drop animation. And then, where'd you go? Bomb selected animation. And then bomb explode animation. Which, now that I think about it, we might not need this whole growth curve and all of that if we're just going to animate the explosion, but I'll keep it for now. So how is this going to work? First, let's add all 3 of these. And that is going to get really hard to use. So let me mess with my UI a bunch. Cool. That can go away. Selected, explode is the one we're missing. There we go. So you drop, it gets selected, and then it explodes. So selected will be one, and explode will be another value. And so the transitions look kind of like that, where this one happens when it explodes, and this one happens when it's selected. We'll get rid of the exit times because that always just screws everything up. And then drop the scene there so we can keep an eye on it. You know, I think you're right. I think a trigger is a better idea. So the difference between a trigger and a Boolean is a trigger gets triggered once. So for one frame, it's correct, it's true. And then after that, it becomes false again. So this will be selected. And then this will be explode. So when it gets selected, it does that. And then when it explodes, that was not a trigger. Explode. Cool. It's nice that it keeps your actual settings. All right. So all of that is good. Now we need to actually make this do its thing. So bomb drop animation. Let's. And those can all get hidden as well. So we just set those to be inactive, or one of them to be inactive. Yeah, so the explosion controller is going to control this eventually. We're just getting everything to the point it needs to be at. What? Why are you doing this to me? Why won't those hide? Oh, I know. Okay. I'm assuming, this could be wrong, but I'm assuming it's doing it by name and not by like the asset ID or something. And if that's the case, we need these to have unique names. Yeah, so it's by name and not by the asset ID. Cool. That's interesting. So now I should be able to hide all of those. Great. So that's what happens when it gets dropped. Then, when it's selected, we still want that to be hidden. Oh, whoops. That's not going to work. Cool. So that gets hidden. And then these get shown. So we'll toggle those on. And then we want this to rotate shoot. What's the best way to do this? We'll set that to 0. And then 90, 180, 270, and then at the end, it'll be at 360. So we get a spin, so you kind of see it do its thing. I think that makes sense. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And then it explodes at the end. Boom. Which actually we can do this even cooler, because I can select the explode now. And let's start recording. This is going to transition from 0.05. Okay, good. That recorded everything until like 10 seconds or a tenth of a second. Not a tenth of a second. What am I talking about? That's a sixth of a second, but we'll scale that down over the initial bit. So it doesn't just disappear, it actually goes invisible and kind of shrinks away. And then the explosion effect gets toggled on, but has a scale of 0. and then scales up to 1. So it looks something like that. Sure, I think that makes sense. And then we just need to make sure that doesn't loop, or it's going to be really weird. So let's see, the explosion shouldn't loop, but selected should. Yeah, cool. I think this makes sense. We'll see if it actually does what I think it's going to do. Yeah. Okay. I think we're in a good spot. So now I need to give you an animator. Explosion animator. Sure. And so I want to keep all of this, but we're going to have explode equal or also trigger the explosion animators. Set trigger explode. And then public void select. Whoa. What? Okay, that was weird, but that's fine. Explosion animator set trigger selected. I forget what I called it. Selected. Awesome. So everything should be good now. We just need to actually make sure we call that selected when it's up next. So how do we do that? What's the best way? Input explode bomb. That's already going to trigger the explosion. But for the selection, let's do that up here. So if our bombs.count is greater than 0, we can actually wrap both of these in here because this is actually going to kind of handle everything. Then we want, I want to actually peek at this bomb. What's the way to do that? What's a good way to do that? Temp bomb? Sure. This is going to be super inefficient, and we probably shouldn't do this long term, but it's a jam, and we have like no time, so we're going to do it this way. So temp bomb dot select. So effectively this is going to constantly be triggering that selection over and over and over again, which shouldn't cause any problems, I hope. But we'll figure that out soon. Let's see, we're not recording, so I can turn that back on. There is no time to explain. Take one of these. Or so will people get mad at me if I haven't played Zelda? Because I played Zelda like once ever. That's a Zelda reference, right? Take one of these. It's dangerous to go alone. Take these. Yeah. Okay. Well, there goes all of my video game cred. Oops. All right. Let's see if this works. So I should be able to. Huzzah! So it does the thing, and then it goes boom. Ah, that's cool. I like that. Can I give myself more? Yeah. There. 900. That should be plenty. Yeah. Okay. That's cool. I like that. Everything works. Awesome. Now we just need to make it actually propel you and make you go flying when it explodes. Yeah. So we're going to start off by making it actually propel the player so you can actually do like combos to move around. But eventually the idea is you're going to be able to actually use it to launch yourself, more or less. And so what that's actually going to end up doing is just fling you across, and then you can literally blow up the world. So all of these platforms you're going to actually be able to like shatter. And I think we should be able to do all of that today. I'll probably take a break in like an hour or two to kind of do some dinner stuff and other fun stuff. But yeah. So that works. Now I just need to actually affect the player. How are we going to do that? Since we're going to be actually affecting everything around us, I think our bombs should probably be controlled here by our explosion controller. And we can actually do it right here. So let's do this. Handle explosion physics. Yep, that's a thing that we can do. So, I don't know what this is gonna do, but it's gonna do something cool. No idea what this is gonna do. Yep. Okay. That that was a lot of yep. Physics 2D dot overlap circle. I think we can do an overlap circle for ourself. This transform position, give it a size, which is going to be our max size times the size over time dot evaluate. Do we actually need to do that, or can I just take the local scale? Local scale dot x times 0.5 because it's a radius, not a diameter. And what else do you want? Is that everything? I think that can be everything. Cool. So this is going to get us a collider 2D. Okay. I'll run with that. What's in here? I have no idea. No idea how to use this. Just know it exists. I think there's going to be an all. Yeah. Okay, that explains it. Colliders. This makes way more sense now. So we're going to get things. So for each collider dot where? Let's include link again. We're going to just go all in on link because it'll just be faster. So where the collider dot get component. Yeah, this will work. So let's actually replace this with a select where our collider is actually going to be turned into a collider.get component of our player controller, rigid body player controller. Which this is gross, where the controller is not equal to null, so it actually exists. So let's get all of those and then do a for each on that. That's gross. for each controller in that gross thing. Yeah, I think this should work. So let's take our controller then. And say, what's the best way to do this? Add velocity of something. Huh. Yeah, add velocity, sure. Of, let's see, I want a vector that aims at the controller, so it'll be controller.transform.position minus this transform position with some force. We could do that. Actually, that would work. But so I want to. The difficult part is, well, that might actually work. Part of the thing is we didn't add the rigid body is only being used for collision detection. It's not being used for physics at all, which makes things a little bit more difficult. Which reminds me, this should be actually kinematic, I think. Yeah. But part of the issue here is our player is not using the velocity from the actual rigid body. It's using its own velocity, which makes everything more difficult. But it should work for us. Public float force. More velocity if you're close to the explosion. We'll deal with that. And this actually will probably, it won't really solve for that, but. So I could add, if I wanted, I could actually do the rigid body and add force to the rigid body. It would work. But then we have two places that we're handling the movement of our player. I mean, here, let's do that and see what happens. Rigid body 2D. Add force. And we'll multiply this. So this is actually going to do exactly the opposite of what you had wanted, Turret Box. It's actually going to increase the force the further away you get, which is wrong in every aspect, but you know, why not? Sure, this'll be fine. We're going to need to turn this off for that. Yep, there's no way this goes wrong at all. This is gonna be fun. So there's no detection of distance. So we can drop a bunch of these, and then if I press that, oh, I actually didn't go flying. Oh, because the force is 0. Ha. Right. Let's update that. Sure. 20. So I'm anticipating this going horribly wrong, but it didn't, and I don't know why. Huh. Let's increase that and increase this to some ridiculous number. What? Hold on. Why isn't this being crazy? Because I would expect this to add a ton of force every frame. And it's not. I turned off the kinematics. Oh, I think I know what's going on. Yeah. Well, this is going well. So, I don't know why we're stopping immediately, but it is pushing us out of the way. Why would it stop us? Maybe move position zeros our velocity? Something is causing our velocity to disappear. Oh, the third option? Static? I don't think that's what we want. So I think in 3D, physics go to sleep after a while. So if they haven't been until they get collided with, then they're asleep and effectively static. But here, it should be working. But I think we're messing with something. Oh well. That wasn't as ridiculously broken as I had anticipated, but that's all right. I'm actually going to go back to our rigid body character controller, or rigid body player controller, and add velocity that way, because I think this will be easier. Maybe. The problem is over additional velocity. What the heck? Why are you an object? That's weird. Yeah, so it will only work for the player. But I think I kind of want the player and the rest of the level to be different. Because I want the level simulating that braking is actually going to require an additional step. We're going to need something to detect when force is applied and how to handle that. And I don't think we can do that just by detecting the force being applied and like using, I don't know, springs or something. Not springs, we wouldn't use springs, but using something to detect it that way. I'm not sure that everything exists. Just make the level have more mass. Yes. That would reduce the force. I'm not disagreeing, but let's see here. I think this will work. So this is a mistake, but it'll work, I think. Nah. Sorry. I don't want to do that. That's a bad idea. Plus equals. This is going to send us flying. We're going to have to fix our character controller. I think you're right that force can be the magnitude here. But I will need to change some things there. Part of the issue is this needs to be normalized. And then we lose the ability to actually detect distance, but call is ambiguous between, oh. Ta-da! That's the worst way to fix that, but oh well. All right. Theoretically, this should compile. And then I think this will only work for vertical movement right now because we override X every frame. Yep. We are way into the sky. 20,000 units into the sky. Oops. Let's actually handle the explosion physics in explode. No, so the problem there isn't the normalization isn't wrong. The force is wrong. We would have applied 8,000 or 800 units of force to our velocity every single frame for the entire time it was exploding, and with how simple this scene is, we're probably getting a few hundred FPS. So that's what happened there. We can fix that though by changing this to something reasonable, like 10. And the other change that I made is going to make it only fire once at the explosion, and then that actual ring that comes out is actually just an effect. So we can do like double jumps like that, which that works. And then it doesn't work if you're not near it, but yay, we can do really complicated double jumps that require way more than 2 jumps, but it works. I don't know. It's the world's most complicated movement system, but it works. And we can wall climb. That's nice. So know how I didn't play Zelda? I played one Metroid game. I didn't really do Nintendo games apparently. I played like Smash and Mario Kart and Mario 64. That was my childhood. But other than that, that's the only Nintendo system I had. Actually, I take that back. I had an SNES when I was like 5. Oh, okay. That makes way more sense. So you're more concerned that we may get a non-normalized vector here, and so if we just normalize it here, this way we know that our input is sanitized. That makes sense. I like that idea. Let's rename this to a force velocity. Added velocity? Sure. You know, direction's a good idea. Direction. I like that idea. Nice. And yeah, so collisions and all of the character control-y bits are totally wrong and not correct in the slightest, but we can deal with those later. For now, I'm just really glad that that actually kind of works and is somewhat intuitive. That's nice. I appreciate that. I do want it to be a little bit bigger to hit though, because it's kind of hard to tell where you are. Let's see. Are we using the max size here? No. Yeah, let's take the max size times 0.5, so radius. Because that means 1 unit around us, it will explode. Boom. And then that artifact is totally wrong, but that's all right. Yeah, this is turning out all right. Let's see. So I'm going to change how the horizontal velocity works and make it so you can only increase your speed up to a certain rate. If you're already going, like, say the max is 50, if you're already going over 50 in that direction, it's not going to bring you down, but it's not going to allow you to add any additional speed in that direction. I think that makes a little bit more sense. So added velocity is equal to this. Yeah, I think this makes sense. And then if how do I want this? If added velocity is greater than 0, then velocity equals the min of our velocity.x equals the minimum of velocity.x plus our added velocity and our max horizontal velocity. I think this makes sense. Whether it works, I don't entirely know, but we'll find that out pretty quick. And then the alternative is else. Grab this. Is going to be equal to the max of our x velocity plus our added velocity and our negative maximum velocity. Cool. Which means that's not going to work. Is it? Because it means if this velocity gets greater than our maximum horizontal velocity, it will just set it equal to the maximum horizontal velocity, which is what I said I didn't want. Okay, let's not do that. Let's actually add in a fixed delta time. So there will be some, effectively we're adding in acceleration so you can actually accelerate a little bit. But then we're saying if our added velocity is greater than 0 and our velocity.x is less than the maximum, then we do that. Then we add. I don't think we can use a clamp at all, unfortunately. So this is going to be if our added velocity is less than 0 and the velocity dot x is greater than the negative maximum horizontal velocity. I think that in my head this makes sense. So if we're trying to go right and our current right speed, our horizontal speed to the right, is less than the maximum speed that we can accelerate to, then we accelerate in that up to the maximum horizontal. Otherwise, we don't. Else, so if we're trying to go in the opposite direction of where we are, then we just do velocity dot x plus equals, or velocity equals, you can pull out that clamp actually, of velocity dot x plus our added velocity. This is getting really complicated. And then we'll do, I can't do that, can I? Because that will just clamp it. Shoot. There. I think this makes sense. The difficult part is I want you to be able to actually exceed your maximum velocity using the bombs, but you can't continue to add on to that once you've exceeded it. Getting that to work is kind of tricky. That may make you accelerate pretty slowly, but this is going to be interesting. We'll see how this works. Whoa. Well, that worked well. Crap. While we're grounded, this isn't going to work. We could change this by making it so you can only change your velocity while you're on the ground. How do I want the, I guess it depends on how we want this to actually work. And I'm kind of confused on that right now. So let's see. In the air, I want you to be able to tweak your velocity, but have very limited abilities, sort of Smash-esque. Whereas on the ground, you will have more control. So in air horizontal speed. So the way it's looking now, normalize the velocity and times it with the clamped magnitude. That would work for clamping. Let's see. I think we can do better because we don't need to actually store the horizontal speed of the player, the horizontal velocity. Do we? No, we don't. So I can actually do final calculated velocity is going to equal our input.horizontal speed. So this dot x, got it. Okay. One sec. I think I have it. This equals our velocity. And then our, that, we're going to add on our horizontal speed, which means our calculated velocity includes the actual velocity plus the direction of the player, which, so this won't have anything until we apply one with this. And then we just need to, when we're grounded, we need to move that towards 0. So velocity.x equals math dot let's do, we're gonna need probably the yeah, this will be gross, but it'll work. The sine of our velocity.x times the mathf dot absolute value. Sorry, max. Yeah, the maximum of the math dot absolute value of our velocity.x minus time dot fixed delta time times friction and 0. How's that for being gross? That's pretty gross. So what this will do is when you hit the ground, if you're grounded, it will slowly slow you down by a friction amount until you hit 0. Plus, the actual input is in addition on top of the actual velocity inherited, but isn't added to your velocity. So you have an additional force or like a constant movement that you do on top of the actual inherited velocity of whatever you're doing. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense. It might not make sense. We'll see. And then we can actually do grounded here. So if we're grounded, use the horizontal speed, otherwise use the in-air horizontal speed, which gives us 2 different movements types for if we're on the ground or if we're flying through the air. And then the final bit, we actually have to move by that calculated velocity. Ah, that's gross. Just for testing, I'm going to give us a bunch more bombs to use. 50. That ought to be plenty. Horizontal speed will be 10. In air will be half that. And then friction, you'll lose 5 meters per second on the ground. This will be actually from the explosions. We'll make that 10. Yeah, we'll make that. Yeah, 10 sounds fine. Let's see if this actually works, or if I just made a bunch of stuff up and then... Hey! It actually, it does the thing that I said it would do. That's nice. Oops. Well, I killed myself, but it does actually allow us to somewhat control this more than we might otherwise. Then, the other thing that I want to do, we take the velocity, do that, and then this can actually use our velocity as the direction we're casting the sphere in, and use the normalized that as the direction. And I'll just slightly, well, no, we want it to still be that size. So this is effectively just going to cast our sphere in the direction of that. And then, if we hit something, then so if we, grounded is grounded. If we're grounded, our velocity.y, that's friction. That's fine. Velocity.y, the problem is walls. Grounded only works for the ground. So this only works for the ground. which means everything that I just changed was wrong. Okay. There's that. That's fine. Aw. So yeah, there's still some quirkiness. Like you still have inherited leftward velocity afterwards, so you kind of like spring. Whee! All right. I may need to go and like draw out how this whole physics thing is gonna work because there's some quirks here that need to be worked out still. But for the most part, this does what we need. And you can combo into a giant jump if you need to. Well, I went up. Oh, actually, I went down, way down. Let's see if this works again. $40 units high. Nice. 42. The answer to everything. I don't know. I'm sure as people play this, they'll figure out how to handle that a little bit better. I'm just still learning. So yeah, look, there's a whole skill thing. Isn't that nice? But yeah, we need to figure out the physics. The physics is wrong. Like that shouldn't happen. Do I go flying? You can combo it. Like that's what I did to get super high. Like we're still climbing. Like 150 some units and now falling. So yes, you can combo them. That's why there's going to be a limit because that happens and you go real high and real fast. So in an attempt to prevent that from happening, we're going to add some extra stuff. But yeah, it works for the most part though. So that's that. The next bit, the harder bit, if you will, is probably going to be everything else. We need to actually blow up the arena and then also make it so another person can join. So first thing, let's save our player. Boop. Nice. And then let's delete the world. Posted a cool GIF. Ha, nice. Okay, yeah. That's sort of the idea here. Except you're gonna use it for evil instead of good. You are going to literally destroy the world. Well, the world that is boxes, but that's as far as we can get in the time frame. So, let's see, world block. Oh, I'm really wanting to make this really, really difficult and complicated. We may have to. So we're gonna start and have it kinematic. And I'm kind of leaning towards making our player actually use the correct rigid body stuff. Actually, now that I think about it, why don't we just do that? So for the X movement, it makes sense to do this and kind of calculate how we're going to actually move. But I don't think we need that for everything else. Right? There's no added advantage there. So I can vector. Whoa, that's not how you spell that. Vector 2.0. Give it an X. And then we can remove that. Remove all of that. Move it by our calculated velocity. Our calculated velocity is not the right word anymore. But do that and then do remove that and remove that. And then just do physics dot add, not add. Shoot, rigid body dot add force of direction dot normalized and force, or we can multiply those again. Force mode using its mass. Let's do an impulse for explosions. I think that's what I want. And for this, we want this to be vector 2 dot up times the jump strength. Right? I think this makes sense. And then we still get our realistic horizontal thing. I deleted the entire world. That is going to make this a little bit harder to test, isn't it? But theoretically, well, it's a kinematic player, isn't it? Nope, still dynamic, so this should work. All of our forces are super low, aren't they? Yes, they are. Jump strength, 1,000. Sure. And we can't jump anymore because I set velocity equal to, or to be grounded equal to that. So this means our rigid body dot velocity does that. Let's see what happens here. This may go horribly wrong. We may not actually get much out of this. $50,000. It's not detecting us as grounded, unfortunately, which is causing all of these issues. We'll change that later. Let's stop playing and restart just because I don't trust Unity recompiling while my game is running. Jump strength 10,000. That ought to send us flying. All right. I turned off I turned off gravity, didn't I? Why don't we fly? What? So there's no gravity, which is why we're floating there, but we should fly. Honestly, if you can walk on air, that's way cooler than walking on water. Like, How do you even do that? Whoa, okay. Fix the problem. It was the force mode. Let's take that down a bit. Let's see here. And I can't fly anymore. Well, that was a short-lived adventure. Let's add gravity back. Boop. Alright. And now the cool thing is now that we have gravity back, we should be able to, or now that we're actually using the rigid body for all of our stuff, it should interact with all of the components, so we can actually use all of the normal rigid body things. Huh, that falls kind of weird. Let's add a 0. Wow, we fall super slow. 9.8. Well, this is going well. Let's see, jump strength up, doing all of that. Something is setting our velocity to 0. I want to just delete that for now. Well, we don't jump very high. Let's change this to like 0.25, just so we fall a little bit slower, I guess. And then we'll up this to like 500. It's mostly just a numbers game at this point, trying to figure out how this whole thing will work. That's too slow. Whoa. All right. Yep, that was too much. Also, why did that happen? Why does it just like stop us? Something's modifying our velocity. It has to be, because this shouldn't happen. So something's causing that to stick. But I don't know what it is. Unless that's doing it. But that shouldn't cause any of that. I hope. Welp. I guess that flew off into the sky. It's more realistic though. This is interesting. Is there some interaction with move position and velocity that I don't know of? Right now I'm working on breaking things. That is what I'm apparently very good at. Let's see. Move position. What do you do? Move the rigid body to position. This is weird. Plus the rigid body dot velocity. I shouldn't need to do this. This is silly. And yet that works so much better. Why does that work better? Why do we actually have acceleration now? Oh, that might work. You're right. We should try that. So let's take that out and do add force. And force mode dot impulse. No, it doesn't like this. That's because I forgot a parenthesis. Awesome. Cool. I like this idea. This is going to work. I swear. What could go wrong? Everything could go wrong. Well. Whoops. We're in the sky. We are way in the sky. I'm gonna take out the position. let's not recursively add our position as the force to ourselves. That's probably not a good idea. Well, that was fun. Let's see here. I don't need to do all that casty stuff now. I'm kind of picturing Smash, like Super Smash Brothers type movement, where you can kind of like, shoot, what do they call it in the air? But effectively, it's a 2D platformer movement thing with some in-air movements and also explosions, because explosions. There is way too much force on this jump. Alright. We just hover in the air, don't we? Okay. So I'm going to stop this, fix gravity for reals this time, and then that should get us somewhat accurate movement so we can actually jump relatively realistically. Our horizontal speed's kind of slow, but that's fine. We can change that later. Then the final bit, we need to fix our, where'd it go? Explosion. Force. 200. That might be strong. There's a good chance that this will send me flying into the sky, but not really. Oops. Okay, that didn't quite work out the way I had anticipated. So, more than double the force. Whee! Okay, awesome. This is working better now. Whoop, I missed. Why do I just have this one block here? For now, there. That's better. Wee. Okay, cool. So we can jump and apparently move very fast in that direction. Okay, cool. So everything is kind of getting really complicated and I like it. It's working for the most part. Let's see. Going to make ourselves move a little bit faster in this general direction. Apply all of that. And then we need to figure out how to actually blow things up. And I don't really know how we want to do that. Whether we want, I don't know. First off, before I get too carried away, this explosion thing is cool and all, but it's the wrong size. The explosion effect needs to be smaller. And the best way to fix that is in here. How big are you? 512. Oop. I lied. There we go. That's better. And so since this has a blast radius of 2, does that make sense? Max size 2, yeah. I think so. Means it'll scale up to 2, radius of 2. So it'll be twice this size, width of 2 radius. So yeah, so that means that should actually reflect exactly what we want. I'm going to increase the maximum size to 3, so it actually gets even bigger than it was. And then we'll delete that, and hopefully this makes it kind of easier to use. Huh. That had the unintended side effect of making the bomb indicator actually grow and then shrink. But I'm okay with that. Oh. Nope. Okay, we're dead. Cool. So everything's kind of working. So that's sort of how this whole thing works. Is you place bombs, those spinning things are is the next bomb that's going to explode. So like, let's see if I can actually get this working. So if I do something like that, I should be able to chain these. Oops. Well, you kind of get the idea. Oops. And you can chain your movements based off of that. And that's also how you attack and would deal damage. Boop. If I could remember the controls for my own game, that would be way fantastic. But anyway, the actual like settings for how you move and everything, all of those need to be tweaked a lot. Because they're kind of finicky, especially in-air movement is feeling a little bit weak, but we can kind of upgrade or reduce or whatever that as we need. And maybe there should be a double jump, but we can add additional things later. The mechanics are kind of there. The question is, I want to be able to blow up the world, and then I want there to be like bomb drops so you pick them up and you don't just have a limited supply, so there's some economy in play. I don't really know how that's going to work. I think platforms are going to come from the bottom or the sides, or maybe everywhere. Maybe they could just come from everywhere. That might be the easiest way to do that. Also, let's see, is there a way to make it an easy way? Surface effector. What does this do? Not that, where is it? Used by effector. There we go. So I think, think is the optimal word there. I've never used these before. Why are we moving? Is that what that surface thing does? Does it just apply force? Oops. Let's see here. Surface platform. Rotation. We don't want rotation. Do I want him one way? I don't think so. Right? I don't want you to be able to... Do I want... I guess we could ask, is it a good idea to be able to jump through platforms or not? So... Let's play around with this. Is this good? I honestly have no idea. Well, I'm dead. Yeah. Okay, we're going to make it so you can't do that. Turn that off. And also move things around a bit. Like so, and then 8. Sure. All right. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get it so platforms can move in the scene. So like you can have one that will pan across from like right to left and you'll stick to it. And we can do that by like inheriting the transform, but that has other implications. These bombs may be a little bit too strong. It's very hard to control. I'm gonna turn that down just a tad. Yeah, that feels better. Okay, so you want to be able to like go up and down. That's even more complicated. Then I have to actually like code something. If we get time, I'll play around with that. But for now, the whole moving platform thing, I'm just gonna... well, that kind of has to exist though, because our player is going to be attaching to things. Crap. Side bounce, side art. Well, I don't know what that is. We're gonna delete that and pretend like it doesn't exist. Go away. Cool. Well, yeah, you'll fall, but you'll also take... You'll either... That has other side effects. Just disabling the collider has a bunch of other side effects, from just physics not behaving correctly to like game dodging bugs where you could literally just dodge attacks by holding down or something. And I don't really want to have to try to account for those. So let's see here. What can we do next? Blow up the world. What's a good way to blow up a world? So what I'm thinking is, let's go back to this. I want effectively to create like a graph. So in this case, it'd just be a line where each node has the next thing in line. And then bombs, whoa, bombs will apply force to each of them individually. And then if enough force gets applied to one of them, it creates a break at that point. But it's going to get difficult. And I don't know the best way to do it. So we'll just kind of jump around for a bit. What's a good way to handle destruction? We could do... What if just like the level starts falling apart? Like literally all of these blocks just become disconnected. So effectively, like this block would be inside, it'd be parented to like this. And then there'd be an explosion and it'd be like, take all of the blocks in the explosion and just make them non-kinematic and apply a force to them. Like the downside of that is it becomes way less useful for platforming purposes. But, I took all this time to figure out how I wanted the game to play, and then I didn't think about this very much. That's unfortunate. Go to the Earth's core and blow it up. You know, that does fit the apocalypse theme very, very well. I was kind of picturing going up, like those infinite things, but actually going down could work too. It doesn't really matter which direction you go. We can play with that later. We mostly just need to actually figure out how to blow up this. And actually, let's... Well, that's not going to work. Let's take all of you and move you out. And let's rotate this. Kind of just have that sit over there like this, I guess. We need to make sure that these are actually still platformable. And so the game still plays well. Controlling this is harder than expected. So, this... Oh nice, we slide down it. That's not great. I don't really want to slide off of these. That's not good. Ha! Fancy jumps. So there will be respawning because you're gonna have a certain number of lives. But yeah, that part we'll get to later, probably tomorrow. But right now it's all about I really just want to get the platforming working, because once we get the platforming working, everything gets way easier, because we pretty much just get to make the gameplay feel better. We don't have to do much else. What can we do for destruction? A pixel to level. So the thing is the level is going to be infinite, or virtually infinite. So it's going to be like an infinite scroller. So we could use that to define like pieces of the level. But the difficult part is going to be actually defining the level itself, because we can't as easily just do that. Like, I don't know, sort of the goal that I have is to kind of make something infinite. So effectively you're like going through the entire world and just blowing up. Stop that, Cortana. But yeah, effectively just go through and blow everything up. We could make custom missions. There's a lot of things we could do. That particular solution would be a lot of work. More work than we probably have time for, unfortunately. Like, I think with these blocks, let's... Yeah, one sec. Let me delete everything, grab our world, create this block. Gonna be kinematic, do all of that. Cool. Yeah, so the level will be randomly generated. That's sort of the idea. It's going to be, but there's going to be like pre-made blocks that are going to kind of fit together to kind of build the level, and it's just going to kind of randomly cycle through them. And then you can probably go up. So you can infinitely go up. And then things die at the bottom. So there'll be like, I don't know, lava or something at the bottom. Don't really know how that whole thing's going to work. But yeah, so we have a block. What is a good way to do this? I'm going to make a block generator, and then I'm probably going to break for dinner, because it's actually, we've been going for like 3.5 hours now. So come on. Respond. So yeah, that's sort of what I'm thinking, is sort of like Tetris style block prefabs, where there's certain blocks that are just generated. But let's see here. Block destruction handler. I think that'll make sense. Sure. This is going to be really gross. So we're going to throw this together really quick, and then I'm going to eat and think about how to make this suck less. Because this code is not going to be clean. It's not going to be great. It's not really going to be something we necessarily want to use. It's just going to be something to build our stuff. So first things, public game object, block prefab. Public, let's do private bool two-dimensional array, because why not? And that'll be a new bool array that's going to look something like, that's not how we do that. Block. Yeah. And so we're going to make this sort of like a, let's make a U. So let's do true, 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 true. That's boring. And then true, false, false, true. And let's do another line just to prove to ourselves that this is kind of doing what we intend. And so we are going to need to create a block at each of these positions. That's gross. But what we can do then is say for int x equals 0, while x is less than the block dot length. Shoot. How do we get this? Get length 0. So with a two-dimensional array, you need to actually get the length for each dimension individually. So x is our first dimension, and then y will be the next one. So we're going to iterate over our x and our y coordinate in that block set. This is super gross. Let's see, get length 1, y plus plus, cool. Yep, this is gross. That's good. Instantiate a new block prefab. Block. Let's see. This transform position plus vector 3 dot right times x plus vector 3 dot down times y. Yeah, and since everything's one unit, that should actually work. We don't need to do anything else fancy. And then we'll do a quaternion. The identity rotation should be fine. Or identity, yeah, quaternion. Bar spawned, do that. And then we just need to parent it. So this dot transform dot parent equals this dot transform. So effectively, we're just making a block that is parented with all of these other things. Yes, so you can do shoot, what are snippets is what they're called. I actually had a few configured previously, but it does a whole bunch of things. What I've found is that I don't like tabbing through, because when you do that, it auto completes it, but then you have to tab through and finish each of the individual things. I found it takes about the same amount of time, and the tabbing just requires more thought. So I haven't figured out if I like that yet. I definitely use it. What's it called? It's not an option here, but like in WPF, when you're making a dependency property, I definitely use snippets like that. Let's see. This should be enough to actually test this. So I should be able to delete that. And actually, on draw gizmos, gizmos.color equals color.white. Let's copy this. This is just because I don't want to actually create the objects, but I want to draw them and see where they're going to be. Spawn point. Yeah. And then gizmos dot draw cube. Yeah, this is going to be gross. Oh no, cube is going to expect, what does it do? Okay, size and a spawn point. Cool. Which makes this easy because then we can just do that. If, I forgot the if here, if r block x, y. So I'll need to copy that up here as well. If block x, y, then we spawn it, otherwise we don't. And so effectively we have a 2D array that defines our block and should create like an upside down U. Once this compiles, we should see that over in the scene view, hopefully. Actually, we may not because I did not attach it. I may have flipped the X and the Y. Whoops. Oh, right. Yeah, I did. Shoot. Hmm. Well, that's less convenient. Yeah, I agree with the draw wire cube. That's a good call. That'll be easier to tell. Also, we're seeing the inside of cubes, so that's always nice. But okay, this should get us what we want. I hope. Fingers crossed. What? That's not right. Array index out of bounds. Oh, that's because I only flipped one of these. X, X, Y, X. Well, this is fun. I probably could have, with more thought, we probably could have done this better, but we didn't. So now we're doing this. Isn't this fun? I could have just flipped those indices. Whatever. That's fine. But yeah. This should get rid of that index out of bounds, which should fix everything. Then I just need to attach our block. And that will at least get us creating our prefab. Nice. So then we can drop the block there. And then if I start this, we should see a U spawn. Yeah, that. Cool. And then theoretically, we just need to define those arrays to actually build these things. And then once we get that, everything is great. Everything works. So, how do we destroy these, though? Do we want to do that on an individual block basis? Or do we want to destroy everything? I think I may need some extra time to kind of like draw that out on a whiteboard. I don't have like a whiteboard camera. But I'm kind of feeling like this entire bit, we can just destroy this in all as one. You guys are saying you want to destroy the blocks. We can do that. One sec. Let's see here. What's the best way to do that? Block, layer, tag. Let's add a layer. What do we want to call this? Ooh, that's not the right. Those aren't the right words. Level. Cool. Okay. So there's the level. Then in here, I'm gonna do this quick, and we will see what happens here, because I'm anticipating this may not go great, but we can see. Let's find all the rigid bodies where the controller is not null and where our body dot layer game object dot layer oh no, I have to turn it to a name. I don't want to do that. Get mask. I don't want to do that either. Oh, name to layer. That'll work. Level. So if this happens, we're just gonna destroy controller.gameObject. I know this code is probably... So yeah, I could use an AND, but I didn't. I don't know. It's just, I tend to like separate things. Like this is just a null check, and that, I don't know, that's just something that I've kind of done. It's not necessarily a great idea, but it's just something that I've been doing. So yeah, there's no reason. It's just one of those program things that I do. Well, that worked well. We definitely destroyed the stuff, right? Yep. So that works. That didn't work at all. Great. Why not? Oh, because we're finding rigid bodies and we want to find rigid body 2Ds. That would probably be the problem. Cool. Let's. Well, I'm dead, but everything else is fine. So great. Let me change that equality. That's probably not the best idea. There we go. This should work a lot better. Oops. Neat. And so theoretically these will not delete themselves. We can actually, let's do that. Let's do controller dot type, body type, yeah, body type dynamic. Let's make it a dynamic thing, and then let's actually add some velocity to it, or add force, and then we normalize and multiply that. So theoretically this is just going to blow everything apart. It may not look as extravagant as I want it to, but we can. Yeah, that was anticlimactic. Yeah. Well, I guess you can now turn the level into projectiles. I guess, yeah, we'll have to play with that. I think we can make that a lot more fun and better. Let's multiply that by a nice number. 10 sounds nice. This is a really bad idea, but oh well. Actually, if we're gonna do that, let's really do that. All right, let's move that over. This is an awful idea. That means it's good. Dude, if you can pull that off, that like jump off of an exploded block, that would be so cool. Like if you could plant a bomb underneath something, blow that up, and use that to kind of jump up. Quick, don't read this comment. Oh, dang it. Well, I failed. I guess I don't have any prizes, unfortunately, so you get nothing. Congrats. Let's see here. Drop this down. This is just a mess, but that's all right. So yeah, I've been intending to do like slow motion. I haven't figured out if you would do like a slow motion bubble, so only things inside of that bubble move slowly, or if it just is slow motion in the entire world. I feel like that's easier, but less interesting. Let's see here. Nice. Oops. This is interesting. How about we don't do that, dude? Bye. Let's not do that. That's cool. Yep. So, let's see. What else? What if? So, we actually have a camera system from our Mixer game that I'm planning on bringing into this, which actually can pan to keep multiple players in the game or in view at the same time. So we'll probably bring that in. I feel like we could just tie this to like a Tetris game and people could just play. All right. So, you can blow things up. It wasn't entirely what I had pictured when I was thinking of the explosions, because I kind of want it to be like a platforming thing. Also, the explosions are really strong now, but I'm not sure. Would it be more interesting if the blocks didn't collide with each other? You know, let's find out. Yeah, so I'm picturing like an infinite level where like there's if you've ever played like those building games where you like have to just build to get up higher and you're like jumping between things. Think of it sort of like that, but the world is being built for you. And then if you just go down, there's something that kills you at the bottom. And then that keeps rising. Huh. Okay. So if we make these not collide with one another, what happens? We can change that quick. Physics 2D. Level. Don't hit levels. Awesome. That was easy. I like easy changes. So this is what it looks like without them colliding with one another. And honestly, I like this way more. Hello. Man, it's so weird to like say hi to people when my camera's not working. Oh well. Anyway, I actually kind of like it when they don't collide. I do think though we need to figure out how to keep them together. So if two pieces next to one another would get deleted, I think they should stay together. And I think we might be able to do that in some fun way. How would we do that? I'm not sure. What if... Yeah, so I think joints are the way we're going to end up having to do that. The trick... So we actually already have a list of everything that's going to get blown up with the specific bomb. The trick is we need to find everything adjacent to it. And I don't know how to do that entirely. We could actually do that. We could add a joint between everything that gets blown up in the same frame, in the same explosion. See, the thing is we're losing the grid as soon as I create those blocks. That grid goes away, and we don't have it unless we create the connection here, which we could do. We might be able to do that. Is just create all the joints in here. But then we're going to have a bunch of joints connecting kinematic objects initially. Unless... what if we do a check to see if they're within like 1.5 meters of one another? Right? So there's a group. Var destroyed blocks equals that. Let's comment this out for now. And say destroyed blocks dot group. This is going to be hard, actually. Because we need to group things that are connected. But we don't know if they're connected yet. So we need to actually, like... we need to do some sort of connection algorithm. Which is hard. Well, not hard, but not trivial. So the part of the issue is it's possible for, like, what if this happens and so these 6 blocks are connected even though they're in 2 different parents? They're technically connected. There's no difference to the player. And so I would like them to be kind of joined. So what I'm thinking, for now, this is not going to be the final solution. But what we can do is this. For each destroyed block. Stop. Lots of J's. For each block in our destroyed blocks, we are going to do something. Don't know what yet. Block. Dynamic. Do I want them to be dynamic or yes? But I want them to all be joined together. So, actually, let's collect a sum of the forces. Our force sum equals a vector2 dot 0. And then we're going to do a force sum plus equals that. And we're going to destroy the rigid body, which seems weird, but it makes sense, I think. Vector 2 and vector 3. Oh, okay. We'll keep it vector 3 for now. So, here's what's going to happen. We are going to join everything. Then, this is going to destroy all those blocks, but before it does, we're going to instantiate if our destroyed blocks dot count is greater than 0. Then we do all of this. And effectively, I'm going to remove them from their current parent and parent them to something else. And that is actually going to have the rigid body attached to it. Now what are you complaining about? Oh, got it. Cool. Okay. So that means we need to instantiate a new thing. We can actually just do game object game object equals a new game object. So my concern with joints is if all of these were true, like this center one is going to have 8 joints connected. Is that a problem? You know, that may not be a problem. We may want to just do that. Should we just do that? I'm going to finish this first and see if this works, and then we'll do it. I'm thinking there may be some other side effects to what I'm intending to do here. So we'll see. But I'm kind of curious if this will even work. So let's finish this. We've got the time. So let's see. Game object. Create the game object. Game object add component. Rigid body 2D. And we want to game object layer equals layer mask dot get name to layer level. Cool. We don't actually need to do that. What I can do instead is do a layer or equals the blocks game objects layer, which means it will inherit every layer that all of the destroyed objects have, which that might be better. For some, we sum up the force, destroy that, but before we do block dot transform dot parent equals our game object transforms parent. That's not right. Game objects transform. It won't have a parent. We'll sum up the force, and then at the very end, new rigid body. We get a new rigid body that has all of the destroyed blocks parented to it. And do new rigid body dot add force of the force sum. How's that for a gross idea? What could possibly go wrong? Compile errors. I guess that's a start to things that can go wrong. Cool. That should fix that. Let's see what we get. This is probably going to turn out awfully, but if I do this, they get parented, so they're all connected. The downside, if you aren't seeing that, is when it's a destruction in between two things, it actually collects them all and like does that, which isn't really what I want. So it is cool. It's not really what I want. So I think we might go with those joints. But I'm probably going to, let's see here, 3 hours and 45 minutes or so. Yeah, I think I'll take a quick break, and then we will come back in like 2-ish hours, and then we'll implement the joints and hopefully kind of get the goal for today is sort of to get to the point where everything works except the multiplayer and the actual competitive bit of it. And then we'll do that tomorrow. I think that's sort of the plan. Whether that actually works, I don't know. But I'm actually pretty happy with where we are because mechanically everything kind of works. Besides being a little bit quirky, and you can actually kind of a lot of the actual stuff works. So yay, I guess. And we may need to kind of tweak certain parts of it. There's some things where it'd be nice to like control almost where a bomb would drop. So if you're like flying to the left, if you want to change directions quickly, currently there's no way to do that because you'll drop a bomb and you'll just pass it and then do that. It'd be nice if there was some sort of like combo or something where you could like drop and destroy it in the opposite direction to kind of like bounce back and forth. So there may be a third action coming. But for now, this works. You get a kind of climb. Eventually the camera will scroll up or follow you or something. But yeah, that's so weird where it connects them. I have no idea. Okay, there I am. Nice. All right. Yeah, I'm going to leave this here and end the stream for now. I will be right back as soon as I get some of the stuff that I have to get done this weekend done. But yeah, thank you guys for stopping by. It's nice that people are actually like stopping by and not just helping helping me, but helping other people in the chat. I did notice like when people come in and ask questions and stuff, it's nice that you guys actually jump in and help them out because I don't always have the time to. And yeah, hopefully we can turn this into something interesting because I don't know, this is just weird. So yeah, I'm going to leave it here and then we will pick up when I get back. But yeah, I'm going to ramble until I end the stream.